gang? Rock with me for a second. We're gonna get you straight. What's up, gang? We experiencing some technical difficulties. You know what I mean? We're gonna get into it though. Excuse the rawness. I'm usually way more professional than this, but that's neither here nor there. This is the first post for Facts Over Fiction, and we live. I want to discuss something, and what I want to discuss is the importance of who you let around you and who you subject yourself to. Who you go around and who you let come around you could actually make you or break you in life, because just because you want the best for someone doesn't mean they want the best for you. And people will say, people will tell you things like that. Like, people will tell you, like, yo, they want best for you, but you will see who wants best for you with their actions. You know what I'm saying? The mouth says one thing, but the mouth says one thing, but if you follow me, the brain does something different. So today's gonna be our first segment one of one on Facts Over Fiction. And this part of Facts and Fiction is gonna be perception versus perspective, and how to deal with cognitive dissonance. So first, what we're gonna start off is we're gonna start off with the definition of perspective. Sometimes people share the same perspective as you on life, but that don't mean you alike. That don't mean you similar. And those are things that we have to learn at our own pace and our own time. So, perspective is the art of drawing a particular attitude or way of regarding something or point of view. It's your perspective, all right? Versus perception. Perception is going to be the ability to see, hear, or become aware of something through senses. So we can have the same perspective on something, but our perception on it could be different, like how we came to that conclusion. So my perspective is, I've come to the perspective in life that people who don't have self-respect for themselves, I'm not a good match for them. You're not a good match as friends, because people who don't have self-respect for themselves won't know how to respect others. Because if you sit down and you look up the definition of respect, like I'm about to show high regard for their abilities or work, to admire someone, to show high regard, to admire someone for the way they treat people. What does respect you mean? To feel or show admiration for someone or something you believe have good ideas or qualities. Most people that I know that don't respect people, they don't admire themselves because they don't have qualities to admire about themselves. And since they are aware of that, subconsciously, they don't know how to respect other individuals. And when you go to explain that to them, a lot of times people are going to talk over you because they're dealing with something called cognitive dissonance. These things go hand in hand. Perspective, perception, respect, and cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance is the psychological state that occurs when someone holds conflicting beliefs, values, or attitudes, or when their beliefs don't match their actions. Like like I was saying about respect, where someone will say they believe in respect, they believe in admirability, and they believe in holding people in regards. But when it comes to showing that respect, they don't know how. They look for every reason or excuse not to be wrong. That's cognitive dissonance. Now I'm going to use myself as an example. How does that play a factor in my life? It plays a factor in my life because most of the people, including myself, that I was raised, seem to have a good intelligence, seem to have a decent education, but when it comes to wisdom, common sense, or using the intelligence that God gave them, it's not applied. So with the people in my life, I could share the same perspective, but a way the and the reason I noticed that we share the same perspective is because through through a lot of studying and research, I'm able to logically explain to people things that they never looked at in that light or or comprehend. I ain't gonna say comprehend it because that's wrong, but a lot of people they look at things in a superficial way. Superficial meaning that they look at things that are presented to them right in front and how to deal with it head on, but they're not dealing with the problem that actually caused them that problem. Like, so to speak, when you talk about when people say the iceberg is always bigger underwater, right? So, like, to give you an example, hey, there's an iceberg ahead, right? And it's like the iceberg is like, it's an iceberg, but it's not even that big. You know, the cruise liner is bigger than the iceberg, right? Like, wait, what happened to the Titanic type shit? Like, they was breaking through ice and icebergs, but the boat itself was bigger than the ice that was breaking through. Not aware that the ice could have been bigger underneath. That the ice is bigger underneath. It's bigger underneath and more solid. It can tear through metal. See, that's an example of perception versus perspective. I could, okay, and you could agree, but how it's two different things. We could share the perspective that an iceberg, a ship should not drive through icebergs. We could share that perspective because it's dangerous, right? You could agree with me. You don't want to be on a boat driving through icebergs because it's dangerous. You know, it could break the ship, we could drown, right? But what happens if we on a boat that's 50 times bigger than the iceberg? Like the iceberg is like, from what you can see, 2 feet wide. That's nearly this big. The iceberg is 2 feet wide and 5 feet tall. Like, right? Or let's just say, let's go a little bit further. The iceberg is 2 feet wide and 6 feet tall, but the boat is 20 feet wide and 100 feet tall. Your perception would be that it's not an iceberg. It's just a piece of ice in the water because the ship that you on is way bigger than the iceberg until you run over the iceberg and think it's gonna break and find out that that iceberg was 2 feet wide above water. The part that was underneath water was 100 feet wide. And the part that was underneath the water is 200 feet tall, but there's only 6 feet sticking out. See, there's where you got a problem. Your perspective was right, but your perception was off. Now, here's where respect comes into play. You can have you could admire the ocean because you never drowned and you only been to beaches, right? When you drive over that iceberg in that boat and didn't hold regard to that's the other definition of respect. You didn't hold in regards the power of the ocean and the deepness of the ocean, then that's your ass because you didn't respect. And you didn't respect because you never had a reason to. The ocean never violated you. The ocean never saw what it could do. You never saw, the ocean never showed you what it could do. You just see the ocean as the way you view it at the beach. Calm shores coming in, small waves. But you never saw the other side of the ocean where it ain't calm, where it could be a tsunami, where it could be an extinction level event and flood the whole earth because you didn't hold in regard. You didn't respect. You see how important perspective and perception is? Your perspective could be right, but your perception could be wrong. And it could lead you to have a lack of respect for something that you should be respecting. And you know what that is? That's what you call cognitive dissonance. Again, the psychological state that occurs when someone holds conflicting beliefs, values, or attitudes towards their belief and it doesn't match their actions. You said you love the ocean and it was your place of peace and calmness. You like to watch little waves come in. That was your perception because that was your perspective until you put your ass on that boat and went to where the water's cold. You chose to go to the other side where the water's cold and deep and where there's icebergs and tsunamis and where the whales live. See what happens when your behavior doesn't complement what comes out your mouth? You got a problem. And most people have these problems. I was one that used to have those problems. And so I learned to close my mouth and do more listening than I do talking. Especially around those who not seem or appear but have proven to know more than you in the field where you lack and need to grow. That's when you need to shut up. When someone knows more than you in the field that you lack and need to grow. But instead, as people, what we do is because we feel shame when confronted with being accountable, gotta push back. And when you push back, you don't want to deal with the man in the mirror. Those are the type of people who will do anything to do wrong, to not to be wrong. They'll gaslight you. They'll be like, yo, I didn't say that. They'll be like, you heard me wrong. They'll be like, well, I didn't do that. Facts over fiction. We got a lot to learn together, gang. And it's going to be a long, it's going to be a long, long road. Got a long road ahead of us of learning, teaching, and growing together as a community. There's going to be a lot of different segments in the future where I'm going to touch back on cognitive dissonance, perspective, perception, respect, and logic. Y'all tune in. Stay with me. We got a lot to go in the future. This is your boy, Elohim Estrada, aka Loyalty. This is Facts Over Fiction, 818. Holla.